Evening, everybody. I want to start tonight. I must say, in these trying times, there are a lot of questions, and obviously a lot of people are have nervous and concerns. So I want to start with two questions of the many on this topic I've gotten just today. I get different types of questions, obviously, like everyone, any rabbi today will be getting. But a lot of questions really are Bitachon related. A lot of questions are viewing themselves in their own positions and stuff like that. So I want to start with two. Actually, one was last night, one was today. One person asked me that I'll tell both questions, and really I'll discuss, I think, how we should be viewing it. The first question somebody asked me is that in their position, they are dealing with all kinds of situations which are challenging under the current situation. So like they're nervous because they're not sure they're up to the challenge. The second Bitachon question I believe I got, which is I think relevant for all of us, this person actually is not even local, although they did call me, is dealing with a relative who is certainly one that very elderly relative who they are looking, and every time they see that relative, they start paralyzing. They just cannot imagine what they can do to stop this situation. These are real questions. So I just want to share a little bit of what I said and maybe a little bit of what one can gain with Bitachon in the situation. So for the person who asked me that in their current situation, they're going to have to deal with, more of a challenge, and how do they deal with it personally if they're in a greater challenge? So what I stressed for that individual is, and I think it's something we should all learn in general, because whether some people are in their house and they say to themselves, how can I possibly be locked in the house for a week or 2 weeks? Some people are reading the nightmare situations about weeks ahead. Somebody asked me today, should they learn how to blow shofar? Maybe by Rosh Hashanah time, they're still going to have a problem with Rosh Hashanah. They're so worried. So, like, how do you deal with it? I go home and I see my wife, who is, I have to tell you, she's amazing. I have the easy job. Being home with a lot of kids right now is very challenging. And like, how do you look at tomorrow and the next day? How much could you possibly entertain? And everyone on this call and everyone who will hear this message, and people who won't hear this message, we all could look at ourselves and say, like, how am I going to deal with this? Like, how am I possibly going to deal with this situation? Some people are okay today, but they worry about tomorrow or the next. I don't have the tolerance. I don't have the ability to do it. So I think for that person, for all of us, really the answer is, I give that individual a whole list of Menachem sources, but really it's true for every one of us, and quite frankly, for all of Klal Yisrael today, the Bitachon that we have to be, and that have. And that is, as the Gemara says in Avodah Zarah Daf Gimel Amud Aleph and Avodah Zarah 3a. And I'm gonna give you a few sources, and I'll just swing back. Ena Kadosh Baruch Hu ba b'trunia in briosa, that God does not come with challenges that we cannot handle. That part of, actually, somebody emailed me a relatively secular Jew, in response to something I had sent him. Says, God really involved in all aspects of life? Is it really hashgacha pratis? For you, those on this call, I believe you all understand that that's true. But knowing that there is divine providence means that God does not give us challenges. Each one of us on this call, and a lot of people are listening on either on MP3 or watching the videos of this, He will not give us challenges that each one of us cannot handle. that is a fundamental of Yiddishkeit, of Judaism, and that's super important on Bitachon. Just a few more similar sources. The Medrash Rabbah says similarly in the Kadosh Baruch Hu, Ba b'tirchas b'yosav, lo ba ela adam lefi koichach. God does not make matters overly difficult for his creatures. He expects a person to perform according to their capacity. Hashem will give us tests individually. Like, I cannot handle my wife's test. That's why I'm not there. I am there, but obviously I'm helping a lot. But I what she does, I cannot do. And honestly, what I do, she couldn't do. She doesn't even hear the news. Like, she can juggle the kids, but the news bothers her, and I have to be. I can write the news reports at this point. So we're different, and where her tests are, I couldn't handle, and she couldn't handle my tests. And for all of us on this call, and for all of us listening, and for all the calls, so it's the same thing. Hashem gives us tests according to our ability. Rabbi Yoyana, in Piskei Shari Avoda, says that God only expects and therefore only gives us tests according to our abilities. The Rabbi Menachem Breslov, Hashem will not put a stumbling block, will not put a difficulty, a challenge that we cannot handle, that we cannot, and handle doesn't mean just to barely make it through, to be matzliach and to be successful. So the first thing, as far as bitachon, is that really that person who asked me, they had a particular challenge, but I believe it's universal today, that we can all look at ourselves and say, listen, I need to be outdoors and jog, and technically can do that, but I need to be in a gym, I need to do this, I need to get out, I need my finances, health, children, I can't see my grandchildren. For many people, that's a tremendous nisayon. I'm on the opposite side. I have my children I get to see, but my parents, my mother-in-law can't see my children at this point. Certainly my wife's grandmothers, one was over 100, one's getting close to that. They definitely can't see their great-grandchildren. So it's a very big challenge. And like, how do you deal with it? Well, you need to know, all of us, that bitachon means that all of the challenges and hashgacha means every little itsy bit of that are things that we could handle and be matzliach and be successful. And for whatever reason, the Ratzon Hashem is for all of us, whatever our challenge may be, is to be in that challenge. And if we're in a position where we're dealing with serious challenges, then Hashem gives us a challenge that we can handle. We need to have that bitachon. This is going to connect to my next question. The other person told me that every time they're with their elderly parent, they're feeling anxiety. Even if you're not, if you're thinking about, if you're thinking about grandparents or great grandparents, or you have relatives that are elderly, or you yourself for that, or you have friends that have serious health issues, yourself have those health issues. Like, how do you live with it? And this question actually I was thinking about, because usually I would say learn bitachon, and really actually I have on my desk, and I just noticed I had it. It's an amazing thing. I've had this on my desk, I don't know how long, but I noticed it today, and I think through osmosis, I have it on my desk just to remind myself throughout my work day. But this little assignment says, "Ein Malvado," there is no one but Hashem, and really that knowledge that there's nothing but God in this world, and lo irara, that everything that God gives is good. There's nothing that God gives, something that's not always sweet, but it will always be good for what we need. Whether for whatever reason, I'm not going to get to that in a second. It will always be what we need personally. Forgetting the world as an individual, God will give us what we need in our lives. Now, we want what's sweet in our lives. We always say, wish you a good year and a sweet year. But I was thinking to myself, when the person asked me this question, when you have a very elderly relative or very sickly relative, or you yourself have that, you're walking around thinking, and the stark reality is for a certain percent of the population, this is very serious. And the challenge, of course, is for other parts of the population, the vast majority, it's not nearly as serious. So if you're connected to that part of the population, how do you relax? How do you get from here to here? That the greatest journey, and I've said this in my drushes over the year, that Avraham recognized God at age 3, and he didn't end up serving God until it's a machlekes 40 or 48. And that the Bali Musar point out that the journey from here to here could take that long, even for Avram Avinu. And the greatest journey of life could be from here to here. That knowledge to get to the point where you can live with the reality of truly being calm and collected and having menuchas nefesh, peace of mind and peace of soul, typically could take a long period of time, and we don't have time right now to do that. Right? Really, right now, in order to thrive, in order to be truly successful in this tremendous challenge that we all have, we need almost a shortcut to get there. And there aren't as many easy shortcuts. This Shiur, anyone studying Bitachon, saying Psukim of Bitachon, by the way, obviously prayer and Tehillim, as I mentioned today, are helpful for that. But besides that, I was thinking, what could the person do? I thought of two things in particular. And number one, this is true for all character traits, but it's certainly true of Bitachon. And that is the Bali Musar and the Chassidic masters as well, bring down the importance of visualization. You should visualize yourself in being the way you want to be. So if you want to be calm, that when you're thinking about a person or you're thinking about your life, you need to visualize yourself having that menuchas hanefesh, that calmness, that bitachon. So I'll tell you what I do. Again, this is different strokes for different folks. When I have a challenge, if I'm going to be stressed about something, or I deal with a difficult person or people, when I go for my walks, will visualize myself. That I even when I prepare my drushes, I walk around them. Even when I give my drushes, I walk around. But I like to walk, and part of the reason I like to walk is I like to be able to think. My best thinking really comes when I'm on the move. So when I'm walking, I will visualize myself being calm in that situation. Some people, they recommend doing it before you go to sleep. Take 2, 3, 4 minutes, visualize yourself in next day. Tomorrow you're going to see that sickly relative, that elderly relative. You're going to be in a challenging situation. Visualize yourself being calm. Visualize yourself having bitachon. Visualize yourself. Actually, they say that one of the main things that they teach army soldiers, the American army, other armies, is exactly this. That when you're going to war, before you go out, or visualize yourself being calm in war. Athletes, one of the things that they train them to do, Olympic athletes, is to visualize yourself jumping into the pool and being calm and going. Not to freeze, not to be nervous. So the first thing I would say, if one is dealing with challenging areas, and we're not there yet in Bitachon, every nekuda of Bitachon, which I'm going to get to in a second, is very important. But and I'll tell you what to visualize in a second, perhaps. But it's to visualize that. Really, I was thinking, what could one do in a really challenging situation? I mean, when you have, let's say, a very elderly or sickly person around you, and you have that constantly, that's super duper challenging. So the person tells me they're paralyzed to an extent. So first of all, that helps no one. I'm not saying it's not normal and it's not natural. For the average person, it is. But if you have bitachon, you realize, lo you're right, that God is not going to do evil, which doesn't mean everything's guaranteed successful. But if we do our part, whatever happened was the best, and we put our faith in Hashem. So we have to visualize ourselves being calm, and collected. This really is a battle. It's a battle for life itself, physical life. Also a battle for our spirituality and our mental sanity and our emotional peace. It's really a battle. And again, God gives only battles that we could handle. Now, it's the first thing I really thought about, which has helped me, and it's a classic Musar work, is visualization. The second thing, which the Bali Musar and the Chassidic masters also bring down in general, but I think in particular now, when we're really everyone, I don't think there's one Jew, one person. This is why I bumped into a guy this afternoon. He says, Rabbi, how are you handling in your house all those kids? He lives on Phantom right next to me. And I had a brief conversation from 6 feet away. And I said to him, I can't imagine not having faith at such time. I just can't imagine walking in the world, without faith. We are so lucky to have emunah b'Hashem. We are so blessed because it's a bracha to know the truth and have that calmness that comes with it, and B, it's true. B, it's true. So it's good to have calmness coming through truth. So I told her I really can't imagine not having faith. And the second thing is something that's really important you should pray for. Like any character trait, anything you really want. And if you really want to be calm, and it's so crucial to have not only emunah, which is belief in God right now, but real faith and trust and calmness that comes with it, we should be davening specifically. If anyone and everyone who's challenged right now in Bitachon should be asking Hashem daily, begging Hashem for menuchas nefesh. Really, because it's the midah of midas. I gave Shiur on this, on Chovas Levavos. I think I mentioned this. My first class, it's online. Unfortunately, I did not finish that whole series because my wife took over at that point, or whatever it was for the women's class. But in the beginning, I said that Chovas Levavos says it is the highest of all character traits. Bitachon is so crucial in any day of a person's life. But now, in this test, where it's literally tzaddik b'emnaso yechad, that the righteous person lives by faith, and the faith means in this case to not just physically live, but to spiritually live, to emotionally live. If we don't have the proper faith, we will stay up at middle of the night. We'll be nervous when we're around people that we love. We will be bothered by our personal situation. Well, God forbid, we'll have existential wrong ideas and wrong questions. So emunah is so important. So we should be davening and praying daily. Please, Hashem, give me emunah and bitachon. Like you'd be asking Hashem for parnasa now. People who are worried about their wealth, you can ask for money. I've Rahman al-Litzlan, I've been in hospitals with sick people. You should see how they pray for the sick person. How they'll cry, please Hashem, heal this person. Well, we all need desperately emunah and bitachon right now. So if you find yourself in a situation which is challenging, or you're nervous or anxious, which is normal under the circumstances, we are at war, we should be davening that we should be having proper emunah and bitachon. Those are just two questions. I think it's really important. Another question that not only did I have this today, but I've had in general for the past 2 weeks, and with increasing frequency, is why is this happening? Now I'm not a Navi, I'm not a prophet, and the why HaLevi should have Mashiach and all the Nevuah come back. But I think which is clear, and I've heard many of my Rebbeim and Gedolim say over the past couple of weeks, and I think it's self-evident to all, is that first and foremost that this is a game changer. One of my daughters now calls this CE, the Corona era. There's BCE, there's before the Corona era, and there's CE, and there's now. Mitzvah Hashem will be ACE after, very soon. But in this reality, I think that the whole world, because of microbes, because of little things, has been forced to stop. That there's no, the alternatives, the scenarios I talk about, the economic realities, from a little tiny piece of DNA, the whole world could stop. Really, it's a symbol to all of Hashem, that the Almighty rules the world. And to be frank, when the fastest growing religion in the United States of America is the nuns, nun meaning not Catholic or Protestant, Catholic ladies, but NONE, no religion, which means maybe they believe in God at some level, but have no impact on their lives. This is a wake-up call to the world. There's a God. But what about us? I think it's for us more. But we, in our lives, as I mentioned in the first class, need to have a wake-up call in our lives personally. It's easy to say, oh, all of those people in San Francisco, all of the people in New York City, in Greenwich Village, all the people walking around just drinking Starbucks and never thinking about anything existential. This is to wake up. There's a Rebbeinu Shalom, there's a creator of the world, there's a God in the world. They need to wake up. No, we need to wake up. They also need to wake up. Right? But I think the message for all of us is we need to, in our own lives, feel and see this God. I think that a lot of Bitachon really is exactly that, is to know, to see, and to feel Hashem. And like one of the things that to visualize, it's actually an amazing thing. There's a pasuk in Tehillim. Rabbi Saul Salanter, who the founder of the Muslim movement, the Rabbi, the Gadol Hador in the late 19th century, he used to say that you should say verses of Bitachon. He used to recommend that one of the ways that he quoted his own Rabbi Zundel of Salant, who was one of the great students of Chaim Volozhin and Rabbi Akiva Eiger, the two greatest sages of the early 19th century. So Zundel told Rabbi Saul Salanter that if you want to work on Bitachon, you should say verses over and over and over. You should say the psukim over and over to inculcate and to ingrain it, to help get what's over here to here. So when you're walking, just say this psukim over. Some of the psukim he said is to say the verses at the end of Uvalat Tzion, which is part of the daily prayer, at the end of Shachris, like Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach B'Adonai V'Haya Adonai Miftacho. Right? Blessed is a person who puts their faith in God, and God is there for him for his faith. Or trust in God forever. All those verses, you can see them there. One of the important verses, psukim, about bitachon, about having faith, is the following pasuk, is the following verse. Rabim machoivim l'rasha, babotech b'Adonai chesed yisov avenu. Many are the agonies for the wicked person. Babotech b'Adonai chesed yisov avenu. But a person who puts their trust in God, they'll be surrounded by God's kindness. Person who puts their trust in God is surrounded by God's kindness. The Chavetz Chaim and many of the Rishonim point out, by the way, that even a Rasha, even a person who would be wicked, if they put their trust in God, that act of trust, that putting their trust in God is enough to get them the blessing, even though their personal life is not worthy of it. There is an amazing leshem. The leshem was Rav Shlomo Elyashiv. Rav Shlomo Elyashiv was the grandfather of Rav Yosef Shalom Elyashiv, who was the greatest Paisek, passed away about 10 years ago in Yerushalayim. Rav Yosef Shalom Elyashiv passed, I think, 104 or 5, whatever he was. He was a great halachic decider, Paisek. His grandfather was the greatest Lithuanian Kabbalist in the early 20th century. Tremendous Mekubal. Rav Shlomo Elyashiv Leshem is like the lumdus, like the deep part of Kabbalah that many Kabbalists learn. And the Leshem says an interesting thing. He says, you know how you touch this pasuk? You know how you understand this verse? Rabbi Machoivim l'Rasha. Many are the agonies of the wicked, or of people in general, the truth is. Why? Because they don't know. Haboteach b'Hashem chesed yisavenu. They don't chap. They don't understand that if you put your faith in Hashem, you will be surrounded by chesed. Said the Leshem that the frustrations come from that lack of knowledge, that they're not putting their faith in Hashem. What does that mean? It's not just that it calms a person. I remember Mashgiach HaLevi, Rabbi Matzal Salman used to say that Bitachon is so powerful that we should make it up. Psychologists should just make it up. It's such a tranquilizer for a person's nerves. But he says the best thing is that Bitachon actually has an effect, which means to say, Bitachon does not just calm a person down. That there's a God. Lo irarak. I'll read from my little chart over here. It says it best. Living with bitachon means living without worry, knowing that everything is under the perfect control of Hashem. Therefore, I have no fear that others can harm me. I know that nothing can happen to me unless Hashem decrees it. I do not need to flatter others. It's talking about human dynamics. Be untrue to myself or worry about what others might think or do. I do what is right and I leave the rest to Hashem. When things don't turn out as I would like, I accept the situation without resentment. I trust in Hashem's love and His knowledge of what is best for me. I know that He will support me in my time of need and will send me strength to weather the situation. Lo irara, I fear no evil. Ki ata imadi, because you, Hashem, are with me. I never give up hope. Real bitachon means knowing that Hashem can do anything. He can change my situation in an instant, even if it appears completely hopeless. Which means that everything comes from Hashem. But that's the basic of bitachon. But what the Leshem points out, which is brought down by many Sfarim in particular, but that you know why the biggest loss is that you, not just as it comes to you, but the bracha, the blessing, comes from bitachon. When you put your trust in Hashem, that's the reason of your salvation. It's not that just it calms you down, not just that you realize and you're cognizant that there's a God and that nothing in this world doesn't happen because of bats or rats or people or political policies. It happens only because of Hashem. Of course, we need to do our proper precautions, and we have to, be intelligent who we vote for and where we go. Of course, that's a given. Actually, we'll get to that in the Sefer. But after all of that, everything comes from Hashem. Every little thing comes from Hashem, and especially us. We're not the decision makers. We're not deciding the world politics, or we're just a victim of what everyone else is deciding or China decides to do or not. No, we need to know. And now does everything come from Hashem? That when we put our faith in Hashem, that is the source of bracha. That is a source that itself creates the blessing. So tonight I did want to discuss some of the questions because I think they're important. I think that what I'm being asked by one or two, I believe are universally, albeit different permutations and different realities for all of us, but it's universal that we all need to realize that the situation that we're all in tonight and today is exactly where Hashem sees that we can be successful in and how we can handle it. Just like I couldn't handle my wife's job and she couldn't handle mine, right? I couldn't handle yours and you couldn't handle mine. Hashem puts us where we're supposed to be. And we should take the opportunity to visualize ourselves being successful and to pray. Really, we are all desperately in the need for bitachon now. And to realize that when we have faith and trust in Hashem, that not only if you're a fool or wicked or silly or ignorant, you can have stress and travail, and that the righteous who have faith will be calm and cool collected. But the mistake is to realize that whoever we are, the more we put our trust in Hashem, the more we realize the bracha, the blessing comes with Hashem, the more blessing Hashem will have in our lives. So I just want to wish everyone a good night. I appreciate you coming on because it makes me, really, this class makes me think about these important things. The questions that you ask makes me think about all these important things. And that's really, if I'm telling you, I'm making me think about these important things, realize the more you listen to bitachon, the more you think about bitachon, the more you visualize bitachon, the more you'll be thinking about the important things. And that's the message from us all. Not only is Hashem telling the world, I'm here, telling each one of us in our daily lives, I'm here, and if we feel it, if we see it, not only will we be more calm, but we'll be blessed. I wish everyone a great night and a sweet night, and Mirch Hashem, we will pick up tomorrow night, okay? Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.